Okay, contract transparency is about making terms of contract entered into in the Nigerian oil and gas space available to the public, which means information about contracts, what the agreements are, will be easily accessible to at least majority of Nigerians.
Some communities, sometimes we have what they call MOU and contracts that are signed. Are those contracts simple and transparent enough for the local person in those extractive communities to understand?
No.
Okay, can you give us more insight, sir?
If you are talking of an MOU, memorandum of understanding in any oil and company, you're supposed to carry the community along. But most of our people, especially the people that are in charge, they do it most of them for their own conveniences. And they pre. In Nigeria, people used to pre what will happen in the future. And all other contract that is signed by now, apart from those days, is for their selfish interest.
So
not for the aim of anybody, even though the community, not even the government or anything. Whoever is signing now, they are signing about what they would benefit. Because you cannot go to anywhere and sign any MOU without their benefit. They won't do it.
As a whole, we don't have any contracts in this country, and that is why we, the young people in this country, are soliciting for NSAS reform in the constituency and in the contract sector.
I think the demand for transparency in contracts in the extractive industry in Nigeria is something that we cannot negotiate. We need it in Nigeria because the more we are open and transparent in the way contracts that are entered into in the extractive industry, that is the bedrock of the Nigerian economy, the better for us.
Contract transparency, like we witnessed the launching of the Contranet today, is very important. You see, from the foregoing discussions, we see how important it is that government discloses the content of the contracts they award. We have noticed that a lot of inconsistencies has been going on in the oil and gas sector, or even in the mining sector, or generally the extractive sector. And projects have not been really monitored because even the public do not have information about the contracts that have been signed. So it's very important that contract transparency pushes forward the government reviews contents of the contracts they are signing, so that citizens can hold companies responsible. They can track and follow or monitor their projects to make sure that they are actually keeping in accordance to what they have signed in their contract. So it's very important if we must have transparency in the extractive sector.
Nigeria is a signatory to the EITI, and one of the requirements by that global body is that contracts in the sector are made transparent and open. It's an area Nigeria is going into, and hopefully going forward, especially if the PIB is passed, Nigeria will be able to meet that requirement.
If we are very clear as Nigerians as to the terms of contracts, we will be in a better position to ask questions where our interests seem not to be very clear. And what is really going on now in the oil industry until recently, issue of confidentiality clause where joint venture operators hide things under the cover of confidentiality, which is a situation where they don't want to disclose everything to the public. A lot of things are hidden away from the public, but right now it is time for us to demand that even in the PIB that is currently before the National Assembly, the issue of transparency in contracts that enter in the oil industry is adhered to strictly.
One of the things government should do, which they are trying to do now, most of these things are going through online now. They should continue with that. If they are doing everything on online, transparency will be there. Even if there's going to be any changing, it will be a strict one. But as it takes now, if they are going on transparency, let them do it online. Let everything be online, bidding and everything. Let it be online, exposed to everybody, so that whereby everybody can access it. So people, I think that will culture and curb some of these untransparencies in the oil and gas?
Advocating for contract transparency will need people who would disseminate information, who would also who would educate the general public on what to demand. You know, in demanding for transparency, we have the demand side and the supply side. Now, we in the civil society and the general public, we are in the demand side. If you do not know what to demand for, you can't demand for the appropriate information. So, Contranet that has been launched today will really go a long way in educating people to know the right questions to ask, you know, to know how they should even advocate for what will benefit them. So it's a good initiative, and they are already going places. I know they are already discussing on radio, and that gives a wider reach to the general populace. So it's fine.